Episode number 47. My guest this week is Lauren Snyder, actress extraordinaire. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's get this show on the road.
These are the performers that I know. These are the performers that I know. These are the performers that I know. These are the performers that I know.
All right, everybody, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Performers I Know. This is episode number 47. Oh, we're so close to 50 episodes, I could taste it. Yes. And it tastes oddly like pizza. I don't know why. This week, we have in studio a very talented lady. She's an actress, done theater all over the place, and she is my guest for us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause to Lauren Snyder. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's my first podcast.
Well, I'm glad to break you into the podcast world. It's a very dark and mysterious place, and it's sometimes it's very scary, but it's all right. There's some happy things. It's not just true crime stuff.
Lead me through the darkness, please.
Yes, I will put you into the light. And so, ladies and gentlemen, once upon a time, Lauren and I did some virtual theater together in various groups. I believe we did stuff with Frank and Julie Radici.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, those readings all blend together after a while. So I'm actually not 100% sure the first thing I did with Lauren, but I do know she's a very talented lady. That's for sure. But Lauren, my first question to you, as I ask all of my guests, is what got you bitten by the acting bug? What led you to want to become a performer?
The first time I was on stage, I was one of those kids who took ballet classes. I am not a dancer. I am barely a mover, but I remember every year hating taking classes, but then having the big performance at the end of the year and saying like, again, I want to do this again. And when I was 7, my parents signed me up for some sort of summer theater camp. And I have to stress that we did not have camp money. So it must have been like super, super inexpensive for me even to have gone there. But as I tell it, like I was 70 years old. I walk in, the first thing I see is like cookies that you could just have cookies. And we were like a granola bar household. So just like theater, you get cookies and you get to do these fun things. So like that hooked me. And then I remember actually being on stage at this, it was in it's like New Jersey Parks Department kind of thing. It was this great amphitheater space. I don't know if it's still there, but it was quite an amazing thing to be your first performance, like this outdoor amphitheater at night. And I remember being 7 years old, being on stage and delivering my lines, and in the back of my mind thinking like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I don't know how that, like, I'm lucky that I had that thought at 7 years old, but I just remember being like, yeah, this feels right.
You remember being on stage and saying, I want cookies again. I want to do my lines, get off stage, and have some cookies.
And have cookies. It's all about the cookies.
That's correct. So, yes, as I stated at the top of the show, Lauren and I did Zoom theater, Zoom readings, and that was just like a whole new world for me because I was so used to being on stage that sometimes you forget, like you realize, hey, we could have just done theater virtually. Was that kind of a culture shock for you to be able to go on Zoom and just do a show with your friends?
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, like the first Zoom call thing that I did, I had like I had like a boomer tantrum about it. And I was like, this is complicated. I don't want to do it. Headphones, Zoom, blah, blah, blah. Which is funny to me now because like I see my therapist on Zoom and I do all these things. I'm doing this podcast on Zoom. So it's like so second nature. But my goodness, I don't know how you felt about it, but it's like to me, it was such a wonderful outlet. It's like to see your friends, to do theater. I got to actually play really cool roles that I always wanted to play. I remember doing readings of The Nanny with you. That's the one I
Oh
remember
yes,
most doing
yes.
with you.
Where I believe I played Maxwell Sheffield.
Yes, you did, to my
Yes.
friend Fine. So,
Oh, Miss Fine, honestly. I well, to answer your question of how I felt, I was because I was convinced, when COVID hit and everything was torn asunder, like that's it. My theater group is ruined. I'm not gonna be able to come back from this until I realized, oh hey, I can just do virtual shows. And then I had cookies and then I felt better.
yeah.
Yeah. Just a nice Oreo cookie for my goodly self, and it was all better. But yeah, I find it that a lot of these virtual shows I did, it really kind of expanded my horizons a bit, got me out of my comfort zone because I did shows that I would normally never do. Um, would you say that was the same experience for you that it got you out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, I mean, I read The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime for the first time with that. I did two what I think I did two different productions of Assassins, which I had seen once, but I really got to love doing it because it's one of those shows that it kind of grows on you. You know, it's not just the one listen. It took me a few listens and I got more and more into it. Now Sarah Jane Moore is a part that I really want to play. I yeah, so I learned about shows that I hadn't known before.
Yeah, much like how during the all this COVID time, I think the character I played the most was Eddie Valiant because I did Who Framed Roger Rabbit 3 times,
Oh wow.
and each time I was Eddie Valiant. So it's like, all right, I guess we're doing this again. I mean, not for nothing, it's a fun role. I mean, I would prefer to play Roger Rabbit, but Eddie Valiant is still cool. It's still good.
Although it was funny because at one point it got a little because so many people wanted to do these shows. It was like it became a little bit of the downside of the live theater of like wanting to be cast in a role and either getting it or not getting it and that disappointment and like that aspect of theater I did not miss during being rejected for things like didn't miss that during COVID, but it's okay.
Yes, indeed. A lot of great stuff was going on with Lauren, doing a lot of great shows over the past couple of years. In my research, I saw she did a show that I forgot this was made into a show. I remember the movie, but I forgot this was actually a musical. She did Dirty Rotten Scoundrel.
Oh God, yeah, I loved that show. I mean, there are some roles that you do and they're rewarding, but you're like, yeah, I don't need to do that again. Like that one, I could pick up and do tomorrow, and like I could do a nice long run of that part. It was so much fun.
And it was Muriel Eubanks, right? Could you explain a little bit to the folks at home what your character was?
Yes, well, she was it was in the musical, it's kind of rewritten from I think the character appears in the movie. I saw the movie years and years ago. But in the musical, she's she meets the God, now I'm blanking on the guy characters, like the main guy, the John Lithgow role. Like she meets him, she falls for him, and then, they have a passionate night together. And so she's kind of following him, and he is buddies with this policeman on the take. And so he kind of puts the policeman to say, like, hey, can you just distract her for a while? And my character ends up falling in love with this policeman character who's just supposed to, like, run interference, and then we kind of fall in love, and then I'm going to be going back to Nebraska, but then he wants me to stay with him, and so we have a happy ever after, which is unusual for that show because it's kind of snarky and dark. But yeah, it's fun.
Yes. Well, all those the Steve Martin and Michael Caine. I call it that because those are the guys from the movie. They're kind
Yeah.
of like they're kind of scumbags, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're professional scumbags, and in the movie, it's Michael Caine, John Lithgow in the musical. He meets Steve Martin, or in the musical, it was Norbert Leo Butz, who's like trying to be a scammer and not doing that well. So Michael Caine slash John Lithgow takes Steve Martin slash Norbert Leo Butz under his wing, and then they meet this girl, and then they start competing for her.
Well, the only part of that movie that I remember was Steve Martin's character going, "Do you mind if I use the bathroom?" And then he just stands still for like 10 seconds. Thank you. Like, ah,
Oh
pants
yeah,
peeing joke. Funny
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. No, there that character has a whole song in the musical. It's really funny. Ruprecht is the character's name. Yeah.
About peeing his pants.
Well, no, it's just about just gosh, what is it? It's just like a song singing about how, like, how messed up he is or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And it's I
Oh,
did that show now 6 years ago, so some parts I remember more than others. I wasn't in that song, so I don't know that it's right.
no, wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. From there, uh, in my research, I saw that Lauren fell down a rabbit hole, literally in a show called Rabbit Hole. And I'm not very familiar with this. By David Lindsay
A bear.
Abar? Abar?
Yeah, David Lindsay Bear.
Is this an
Yeah, it's
original play?
yeah, it was actually he decided to write a play on like he's a parent, and so what scares him the most. And so it's a play about these characters. I played the character Becca and her husband Howie, and they lose their, I think it was 2 or 3 year old son. He like runs in, the dog runs out into traffic, the kid runs after the dog, a teenage boy doesn't see them, hits the kid, and the kid dies. And so
Oh,
it's like her kind of going through the grief with her, and her sister's kind of nutty, and her sister becomes pregnant, so there's a lot of like, you know it's the couple like trying to find their way back to each other. It's dealing with the fact that another baby is coming into the world, and it's just like more acutely aware of the loss. That was a role, like I said, like that was wonderful, and it was such a challenge, but it was tough. It was exhausting to do that, so that I would be a little more hesitant to do again, and also a ton of lines, but like completely worth it.
yeah. Do you prefer, because, that seems like two ends of the spectrum, a wacky comedy like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and something of that important, tough nature like Rabbit Hole. Do you prefer a more dramatic type or a more comedic type, or do you like a mix of both?
I mean, I like a mix of both. I mean, there's really nothing like, though, like nailing a comedic role and getting laughs and being able to count on laughs. Like, I just finished doing a role at the Chain Theater during their one act festival, and it was just like this kind of big, loud Italian American woman from the Bronx, and she was like quippy and stuff, and it was so nice being like, I know exactly how to say this to get a laugh, like every time, like I could count on it. And it was like, ooh, even though I knew it was coming, it was still so rewarding to land it. There's just something about that.
I would kind of say I'm in the middle. I enjoy being able to say a line and get a big laugh, but at the same time, I also like being able to say a line and getting like, oh, or oh my goodness, and things of that nature. So good comedy, good drama, it's all
Oh
good
yeah.
stuff.
when I was in high school, I did like a JCC production of Brighton Beach Memoir. So I was like 17 years old and I played Blanche. She was like the older sister. She's the aunt of like the Eugene main character. And
Hmm.
and there's this like really sad monologue. And I remember that was another time when I was like delivering the lines and also kind of able to see outside myself. And I could actually hear people crying. That was also really, really powerful in the same way of the laugh, but in kind of a different way of like, wow, I can't believe my sadness moved other people to sadness, you
Well,
know?
I often tell this story, but I did a production of Wait Until Dark,
Mhm.
where I played Mr. Roach, and he's just a horrible, horrible human being. And there's a scene where I stab one of the accomplices. Well, he's no longer an accomplice because he's dead.
Yeah.
And the first or second performance we did, I stabbed the guy, and all of a sudden, these two old ladies in the front row start laughing. And I'm just sitting here like, what what exactly is funny about what I just did? I just murdered a guy. That's really not supposed to be funny. And um, the producer had the thought like it was probably just nervous laughter. Like they so nervous and so scared they couldn't do anything but laugh.
Yeah.
And I just remember going, I guess, but that's still like, what exactly? What did they expect? It's a thriller play.
Yeah, yeah. Did you get
Uh,
any boos from anybody? I played Natasha and Three Sisters, and I actually got boos during curtain call, and that was
I did
amazing.
not get booze. I will say the closest I got to any kind of scathing remarks, a couple of the youngsters in the theater group I was in at the time came to see the show to support us. And when we got outside to meet the fans, they came up to the woman who played the lead, like, "Oh, you were great. You were wonderful." Came up to somebody else, "Oh, you were great." So then they look at me, stone faced. So I just jokingly went, "Well, don't you have anything you want to say to me?" And this girl, Alexandra, I'll never forget this, dead in the eyes, looks at me. "You cursed on stage. That wasn't nice." Because at the end of the play, when the main heroine stabs me, I was just like, "Oh, you fucking bitch, you bitch, and fucking fuck me."
Oh my
And I
goodness.
kind of ad-libbed that.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's like, oh, that's what you picked up on, not how good of a character I was. But I digress. So
So
yes,
then when
the,
you were when you were stabbed, did they cheer? Or was there any kind of like a cathartic thing from the audience?
I I really wasn't paying attention to
Oh,
the audience because the I think I was just so taken by the character that I was just like, I don't care what's going on right
yeah,
now. Oh my
yeah,
God, I've been stabbed.
yeah.
I don't know why I turned into Ray Romano there, but there you go. So
It's because I live in Forest Hills and Ray Romano's from Forest Hills. That's
oh
why.
well, okay, there you go.
And-
Tell Ray I said hello. So um you mentioned that you just did something for the chain theater, one act festival. It was
Mhm.
something called Hair Salon and Sam.
Yes.
Tell what is Give us a little scoop on that. What's that all about?
It was set in the summer of Sam in 1977, and I'm a character. I'm running a hair salon. I'm busy because people are getting because the Son of Sam killer was specifically targeting women with long dark hair. So women actually at the time were getting their hair cut and their hair bleached so they could not be, a potential target. And so the idea of the show is that um, I'm there with these two girls from the neighborhood, and the one has just gotten her hair cut and bleached, and the other one is resisting it because she doesn't like the way she looks. She's not taking it very seriously. And then it actually kind of turns into this little thing, like the two women have been best friends for a long time, and the one is a lesbian, the one who got her hair cut and bleached. And so it's like, because of what happened with the Son of Sam and this being scared about that, she ends up kind of embracing this more masculine look. She has the opportunity to kind of be a little more true to who she is and herself. And so she takes the opportunity to have a conversation about it, except it's not, she's not like, I'm a lesbian. It's very subtle, the way that the conversation happens. But when her, spoiler alert, her friend is accepting, and it's nice. And again, I am purely there for comic relief, and I was happy to just be loud and crazy and break up the intense moments.
Well, that's wonderful. Oh man. It's always interesting to kind of see these self-written plays that other playwrights have done. I'll tell you guys a little story. I've actually never divulged this before, but every so often, I people reach out to me to say, "Hey, Dane, I heard you write plays. I have an idea. You want to turn it into a play?" So I met this gentleman. I'll keep him anonymous because, quite frankly, he scared the shit out of me.
I did.
Um, Met him at the Woodbridge Mall one day, and this guy rolls in, and he just leather leather jackets, you know, very alternative culture. So I'm like, all right, let's see what this guy has to say. So we sit down, we're eating. I went, okay, so what is this? What is this idea that you have that you want me to write? So the guy leans in, all like he's unearthing this great secret to the universe, and he goes, "I want to do a play about a group of school kids whose plane crashes on a desert island." So I go, "You mean like Lord of the Flies?" No, 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 no. It's different. It's different. See, during the course of the show, they become cannibals and they eat each other. It's crazy cool. Okay, well, I'm just gonna get going. You do you, buddy, and I'll do me.
Yeah.
Suffice
Yeah.
to say, suffice to say, I didn't go for the idea.
Just like I don't have the SFX, like the FX budget for that.
I mean, even ignoring that, it's like I'm not doing a show where children eat each other.
Well, oh yeah, totally. I mean, that's the person that I am. I would, if I was presented with something horrific like that, I would just try to think of the most, you know, normal sounding reason beyond like, you're crazy and I would never do that. Like, oh, I don't have the budget to do something like that on stage. I'm not sure we could get the kids like the practical ways around it.
I mean, I wish I could have been that witty in the moment, but my reaction was basically just, I'm gonna just pass on that idea. Thanks, buddy.
Well, listen, the next time somebody approaches you with a cannibal story, I've just given you two really good excuses to use.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll do your cannibal story if the cannibals eat a clown, and then one says to the other, "Does this taste funny to you?" That's my deal. Take it
Nice.
or leave it. Oh, yeah. So that was a thing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I look at the old clock on the wall, the old non-existent, invisible, only I can see it clock on the wall, I see that we are starting to run just a tad bit at a time. But Lauren, my last question to you, as I ask all of my guests, is if somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, Lauren, I want to become an actor, performer, singer, dancer, whatever," what would be the piece of advice that you would give them in order to best succeed in that endeavor?
Um, wow. Gosh, I wish I had heard that ahead of time so I'd have a canned response to it. Um, you know, I think that I would say that you can there are so many ways that you can be an actor. You can, like for example, like me, like I was an actor in school and then I was just kind of and then I was just doing community theater for a while and I was working and now I'm actually pursuing professional stuff. But you can be involved in so many ways. I don't think anybody should feel bad that they either have to take a survival job or do any kind of a job. I think a lot about how Anton Chekhov was a playwright as his side gig from being a medical doctor. It's like you don't think you have to like pour all of yourself into it all the time because that can be exhausting, like kind of live your life, figure out how you can do your art and figure out how much you want to do the art. When I went to school for theater and there were people along the way who decided, you know what, I don't want to be an actor anymore. I want to do this or I want to do that. And nobody should look at that as a failure. It's your choice to pursue it. It's your choice not to. You could always pick it up later. You could always not. And just like not judge yourself too with the choices that you make.
Lovely, lovely words of wisdom to consider. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as our outro plays us out, I would like to thank my special guest, Lauren Snyder. Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't believe how fast the time went.
Indubitably. And we will see you all on the next episode. So long, everybody.
These are the performers that I know.